hurt this motor last week Wednesday. I didn't touch it Thursday. I started kind of diagnosing things Friday and then ordered parts. It's Tuesday the following week and I already have all the parts I need to fix this thing and put it back together. I don't know how Ligori here, I don't know how he gets stuff out as fast as he does, but this is going to save my weekend, I think. Weather permitting, I got a race on Sunday, 3 hours north of here, another no prep race, and I'm off work Friday. That gives me Friday and Saturday to get things done. But I'm out here early now on Tuesday. I'm going to start getting valves lapped. I'm going to set the installed height for my valve springs, and just start getting everything bolted together. And then hopefully tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow will be Wednesday, tomorrow or Thursday possibly, I'll get going on degreeing the cams, and then hopefully on Friday we can stab this thing in and get it fired up. And then you know, if it's dry out, at least I can run it up and down the road and make sure everything's good. But here we got my retainers I was waiting for showed up, my kibble weights, got my Vance & Hines stainless exhaust valves. Initially I was going to try to reuse the ones that were in the head already, which were also Vance & Hines, but the one valve tip took a little bit of a beating where that shim head hit it, and I actually had to deburr the tip of that valve just a little to get it to come out of the guide, and my gut told me just to not reuse them. So instead of just getting one valve, I decided those valves have been in this head since it was a nitrous motor, and they've seen some wear and tear. So we're going to start fresh, new intake, new exhaust, new springs, new retainers, and we'll lap in the valves and get everything kind of fresh, ready to go. So check it out. Fancy stuff. Got my new retainers. Fancy. I'm going to weigh these compared to the titanium ones and see if there was really any kind of advantage weight-wise. So here we have the two retainers, the old titanium and the new from Kibblewhite. So we'll weigh the titanium one first. 4 grams. And then we'll do the Kibblewhite. 4.9 grams. So is titanium really worth it for the aggravation? I'm going to say no. So what I'm going to do now is lap in the valves. Stainless valves, I'm just lapping them in to just kind of create a smooth contact surface, and we can kind of see if the seat's got any imperfections in it. It kind of tells the story of the valve job. I am not a professional engine machinist, and I would rather do something myself and fuck it up 50 times before I paid somebody labor to do it. Everybody's got their own way of doing motor type stuff, so what I'm going to show you how I do things is not the Bible. It's just what I do, and it's what's worked. This whole situation here, this is the first cylinder head failure I've ever had. So I must be doing something kind of okay. And my bike's not exactly the fastest thing out there, but it's not a turd either. So for the budget I'm working with, I can afford to buy pretty good parts. But I'll be damned if I'm going to spend a ton of money on labor to have somebody do something that I can just learn over time, trial and error type stuff. So that's just my state of mind, or my mindset going into stuff like this, is I'm going to do it my way, and if anybody wants to show me something different, that's fine. That's how I learn things. It's just kind of how it goes. So what I'm going to start with here is real simple, just lapping some new valves in. Nothing fancy. I'm not cutting seats or nothing. We're just going to check for a good pattern on the valve and the seat itself. Do a little oil on the stems. I think feels good. Now what we'll do is lap it in. Little valve lapping compound. Sure I got some left here. Little dab. Now I'm not trying to remove a shit ton of material here. I'm just gonna, you'll feel it, or you'll hear it be kind of gritty, and then it'll smooth out, and then we're just gonna clean it and check and see what we got for margin. Just back and forth and just hop it in and out to kind of clean out some of the grit. Now I should have a line on here, kind of a dull spot all the way around. That's going to be next to impossible for you to see on here. But I got a line all the way around, which tells me, well, for one, if they were used valves, it would tell me the valve's not bent. But it also shows me how wide the margin is on there. That looks pretty good. I'll double check the seat, which with my super stellar $40 Amazon camera here, you'll never be able to focus in to see this, but I'll be able to tell how she looks. It looks like I got an even pattern all the way around. We'll give her one more go round. I'll try this on, see if that works a little better. Nope, didn't like that. Another little dab. Run it around. Hear how gritty it sounds? Then drop everything and knock everything over. There, now she's looking good. I'll take a picture of this with a better camera and insert it here so you can see what I'm looking at. Like I said, I'm no expert on this stuff, but I know what needs to be done to make it run at least. Whether it runs good or not, it's to be determined, I guess. Put a little brake clean in there. And before I assemble this, I will completely clean this cylinder head, just so you don't think I'm putting it back together with a bunch of remnants of valve grinding compound kind of hanging around. And see how she looks. Ooh, that looks a lot better. Yep, just took a little bit extra to clean her up real good. So now I'll do that to, all 7 more exhaust, and then I'll do all 8 intakes, and then I think that's where I'm going to call it for the night. We'll see time-wise how things are looking, but I might double check and measure for installed height on the springs. So it's all tedious work, but we'll get her back together and get her running. So I got all the exhaust valves lapped in. Everything looks like really good. So it only took me probably, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes to do all those. I still gotta go back and clean everything, but before I do that, I'll go ahead and do my new intake valves now. Same kind of thing, just looking to see any imperfections in the seats, and then new valves, I'm doubting anything is bent, but this will show it if there was. So we'll get going on these now. Okay, everything's lapped in. I'm going to take and get this thing all cleaned up and ready for assembly, and then I'll come back, same spot, start putting stuff together, and then getting my measurements for my my installed height, and then I might call it a night. Okay, we are ready to start putting some parts together now. This is actually the fun part. So everything looks good, clean. Well, clean enough for a garage-built Turbo 1000 anyway. Okay, let's get going. Okay, got all my valves in. I put tape over the bottom side just because the head's not sitting flat on the bench, it's up on my stands. So just keep valves from dropping out the bottom. I just put some painter's tape along the bottom, hold them in. But now it's time to put all my valve seals on. And all I use is factory seal. Oh, you can see that in the light, there you go. Factory valve seal and a 7mm socket. Fits right over, and I'll just push it down on the guide. So I went through and I did my measuring, which was kind of a pain in the ass and not really worth following along with. But I got my specs here for installed height, 1.33 to 1.34. I came out with, lights in the way, 1.332. Did my little diagram and got my measurements figured out, and I did my math. So we're right in the ballpark where we need to be. So I'll finish. I'll double check everything just to make sure I get that same reading on all of them. There's a faster way to go about it after I got the first one done. So now I can go ahead and start assembly. So I just ran through and confirmed all of my seat to tip heights on the valves, and if they're all the same as the one that I checked, then it should run consistent through all my spring installed heights. So went through and double checked all that, and first thing we got to do now is we got to drop these spring seats in. These came with the springs. They're different than stock. So I'll go through and drop all them in, finish up assembly. Okay, valves are all in, seats are all in, and valve seals are all installed. So now we'll do springs and buckets. I suppose I should say springs, retainers, and buckets. So what I'm doing here is I'm just double checking my retainers to make sure they go in the springs right, and then set them in the head, and then I'll put the keepers in, and then I got a tool that makes putting these things together real easy. dropping all the keepers in on the intake side, and then I'll go through with my tool and pop them all in real quick. Fancy tool gets it done in one push. Sometimes you got to wiggle a little bit to get them to drop. Sometimes the keepers got oil on them, they stick a little, but that's it. Exhaust side's done. There we go, all assembled. Shiny.